I think it's fair to say that I think we all wish we had more time. But have you ever said, I just need more time, but deep down inside, you know that really wasn't the whole problem that you were dealing with? Because sometimes we do need more time. I mean, that's a legitimate feeling, but sometimes what we really need is more space to think, more space to breathe, more space to stop reacting to things so quickly, space to hear ourselves again, and even space to come back to what actually matters. Welcome back to Wandering But Not Lost, where we pause, notice, realign, and begin again. Today, I want to talk about something that feels really simple, but I think it's incredibly important. Creating space before you burn out. Not creating a perfect life, not clearing your entire calendar, not running away from responsibility, just creating enough room inside your life that you already have that makes you feel like you can breathe again. You just need to find it. And we're going to talk about that today. Because burnout doesn't always arrive all at once. Sometimes it builds quietly. One extra obligation, one more notification, one more thing that you said yes to when you probably needed to pause. One more task sitting open in the back of your mind. I have those a lot. And you constantly have to be working on this stuff. One more decision, one more conversation. The list kind of just goes on, right? And suddenly, nothing is technically wrong, but everything feels like too much. Now, I just want to get this out of the way right at the very start. You're not broken because of this. You just may be crowded. Your head is just too crowded. That is the distinction I want to sit with today. Because when life starts to feel full, we often assume the answer is to become more disciplined, more organized, more efficient, more productive. And yeah, sometimes organization, of course, helps. But sometimes efficiency just helps us move faster through life that is already too crowded. So before we ask, how do I get more done? Maybe we need to ask, where do I need more space? There's a big difference between time and space. Time says, I need another hour. Space says, I need less pressure inside the hour I already have. Time is about the clock. Space is about the feeling inside the moment. Very different, but nuanced, right? You can have free time and still feel crowded. You can have an open afternoon and still feel like your mind is racing. You can have a quiet room and still feel emotionally overwhelmed. That's how you know the issue is not only about time, but maybe about space. You need mental space, emotional space, physical space, calendar space, creative space, relational space. There's a lot of ways that you can fit space or needs for space into your life. And most of us don't even notice how little space we have until we are already completely exhausted. So let's pause here for a second. Not dramatically, just honestly. Where does your life feel crowded right now? Is it in your mind? Is it your schedule that feels overcrowded? Is it your inbox? Is it your house? Is it your emotions? Is it the number of people needing something from you? Maybe it's the pressure you're putting yourself through and you have because you haven't had it all, figured out quite yet. Just notice. Just take a second to try to notice where that feeling is coming from. And don't judge yourself on it. It's just information. This is where we always start resets. You have to figure out where your issue is before that reset can actually go in there and try to do something about it. So pause, notice, and then we can realign. So let's talk about a few types of space that most of us need, especially when life starts to feel full. The first is mental space. Mental space is a room to think without everything competing for your attention all at once. As for many of us, the issue is not that we are thinking too much, it's that everything is open. Every task, every reminder, every conversation, every idea, every worry, every I need to remember something, it all stays open in your mind. So a simple way to create mental space is to get it out of your head. Either physically write it down or write it on your, in your notes on your phone or in your computer. It doesn't have to be eloquent, doesn't have to be beautiful, doesn't have to be perfect. Just make the invisible actually visible. A messy list can be a form of relief. Because once it's down on paper or in your notes, your brain doesn't have to keep holding it in the same way. I love that. And I do that a lot. I mean, I actually am old school. I kind of have sticky notes all over the place. But there's nothing better than getting out of your head and not having to worry about it. And then when you do get to it, you can just rip that little note up. The second is physical space. Physical space matters more than we sometimes actually admit. A cluttered surface, a pile you keep walking right on past, a chair that's become a holding station. I think we all have one of those. A room that feels like it's asking from something from you every single time you enter the room. And you don't have to declutter your whole life. Just choose one small area, one counter, one corner, one drawer, one bag, one surface. Physical space can signal to your nervous system we're allowed to settle here. That makes a big difference. Now, the third thing is emotional space. This may be the one we skip the most often because emotional space is the room to feel what you feel without immediately fixing it, explaining it, or judging it. Sometimes we're not overwhelmed because the feeling is wrong. We're overwhelmed because we're not giving the feeling any room. So we carry it into everything we do, into work, into your conversations, into dinner, into sleep. That is a huge one. When you go to sleep thinking about something and you wake up still thinking about it and you think, gosh, I dreamt about that all night long, you're not giving yourself the space. And if you carry it right into the next morning, it just starts all over again. It's a horrible thing. Creating emotional space might sound like maybe I feel disappointed, I feel tired, I feel stretched, I feel uncertain, I feel like I need a minute. And naming something does not solve everything, but it can lower the pressure on that. And sometimes that's the first space we need. Now, the fourth space is your calendar space. And this is not always about having fewer things to do, but sometimes it's about having more room between the things, a buffer zone between meetings, a breath before you start opening email, 10 minutes after an appointment before rushing to the next task, a protected morning. That is one of my favorite ones. A slower start, a quieter into the day. We often schedule our lives as if we're machines, moving from one block to the next block. But we're not machines. As simple as that. We need transition time. We need a little margin in there. We need a moment to actually arrive, to be prepared and ready for the next thing. So if you're feeling close to burned out, do not start by asking how to rebuild your entire schedule. That would just be a nightmare and would cause a lot of stress and so much more and put so much more on top of you. But start by asking, where can I create one small pocket of space? Just one little pocket. Now, let's make this practical. Here are 3 small shifts you can use today. Number 1, pause before the next thing. Before you open the next app, before you answer the next message, before you jump into your next task, pause. Take one breath and ask yourself, what do I actually need right now? Now, that can sound a little woo-hoo, I think maybe. But it's really important that you kind of analyze what's the most important thing for you at this very moment, because you might in your mind have 1,000 things lined up, right? Not what everybody else needs. Not what the loudest thing is. Not what I'm supposed to do next. What do I actually need right now? It's a good question. And that question actually creates space. Number 2, remove one small friction point. You don't have to remove 50 or 10 or 3. 1. There's probably something in your day that's been taking up more space than it actually deserves. A tab that needs to be closed, a message that needs a simple reply. That can be one that you really could start freeing you up. A pile that needs to be moved, a decision that needs to be made, a task that needs to be released. One small friction point removed can change the entire energy of your day. And number 3, create a reset cue. This is something small that reminds your body and your mind we're coming back now. Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's a cup of tea, a song you might like to listen to, a few breaths by a window. Maybe you like to journal. Maybe it's a little journal, a chair outside or in a quiet space. Maybe it's a quiet drive, or maybe it's a phrase. For us, that phrase here at Wandering But Not Lost is pause, notice, realign, and begin again. Because sometimes we don't need a dramatic transformation. We just need a doorway back to the present moment. So here's your micro reset for today. Ask yourself, what feels crowded? What can I soften? Where can I create one small pocket of space? And that's it. Not your whole life, not the whole week, just one small pocket of space. And if you want a simple tool to help with this, we have the Alignment Audit over in our reset library at wanderingbutnotlost.com. It's designed to help you notice where your energy, attention, and choices may have drifted out of alignment, and where one small shift can help you begin again. You can find the link for that in the description below. But whether you use the download or simply sit with the question, the invitation is the same. Create space before you burn out. Give yourself room before everything else feels urgent. Let the reset be small enough that you will actually use it. Maybe today you don't need to push harder. Maybe you don't need to figure everything out. Maybe you don't need to become the whole new person by tomorrow morning. Maybe you just need a little space. Space to breathe, space to notice, space to realign, and space to begin again. And remember, you are wandering, but you're not lost.